Hi everyone, Rhea here. So today I am sharing the 10 steps you, me, anyone needs to take to reach financial freedom. And I know that financial freedom looks different to everyone. It could mean for you just being able to live comfortably month over month. It could mean being able to quit your job and travel the world. It could mean starting your own business and, letting that support you and your family financially for years to come. Hi, Wesley. Thanks for joining in. I'm still getting used to Facebook Live and seeing the notifications pop up, but if you are here and you are watching, if you have questions, don't hesitate to say hello. Really excited to be here with you guys. All right, so back on track, now we are. 10 steps to achieving financial freedom. So one thing I want to share too is that you can work on these steps one by one, or you can do them simultaneously. It's really all up to your capacity, your discipline, and ultimately your situation. So I want to just throw that out there. You don't have to do all of these things at once to reach financial freedom, or at the same time, but starting with one and knocking them off your list will eventually lead to results, and that's what we're all about, right? Okay, so 10 things you need to do to reach financial freedom. First and foremost, set and follow a budget. I know I'm a broken record. I am like the queen of budgets and why everyone needs them, but they are so important. And it doesn't matter the amount of money you make. If you don't have a budget, you don't really know what's coming in or what's going out. A budget will make it very clear to you what you can afford and what, Hi, Zane. Yeah, 10 things. A budget will make it very clear to you what you can afford and what your income will allow you to do, whether it's living expenses or discretionary spending. So first and foremost, set and follow a budget. A budget is going to be very eye-opening for you, and it's going to give you those limits you need so that you can make further progress down the line. All right, number 2. Save at least $1,000 for small emergencies. So if you don't have any form of savings, if you don't have an emergency fund, if you have a lot of debt, whatever the case may be, your number one goal should be to get $1,000 saved up to cover any small, one-off, unexpected expenses that may come up, because I'm telling you they will. It's inevitable, right? Life just happens, and to avoid you going down a deeper hole, having that $1,000 handy for such expenses will make your life so much easier. And I do want to say too, a question that I get a lot is, well, should I save or should I pay off debt? And the answer is both, right? You should save your $1,000 and then aggressively work to pay off debt. Because let's say you didn't want to save, you wanted to focus on paying off debt. Well, what if your car broke down? All your money went to your debt payments, right? So now you're likely going to have to use a credit card to bail yourself out. And that totally defeats the purpose of you trying to pay down your debt. So save $1,000 for small emergencies and then vigorously pay off your debt. Which leads me into thing number 3 to do to reach financial freedom, and that's pay off all of your debt, specifically high interest-bearing debt. So that's more than likely any credit cards or personal loans. Those typically come with extremely high interest rates because they're not tied to an asset. So they're costing you more the longer you keep those balances on there. So why should you pay off debt before savings? Well, it's pretty clear, right? There is no amount of interest you will earn on your savings compared to the interest you will pay on your debts, specifically those high interest debts I was talking to you about. So, hi Zane, yeah, 10 things. So going back to paying off high interest debt, so you're just going to be spending more money over time if you don't focus your efforts on getting that debt down to a reasonable level, if not removed completely. So I will say you want to follow a strategy. The snowball method works for plenty of people. It's what I recommend for clients when I create budgets for them, and it really gives you that time frame of when you'll be debt free. May be a little frustrating to see how long it can take, but you know what? There is an end, and that's the most important thing. All right, number 4, contribute 10 to 15% of your income to your 401k. So I know that's a pretty large number, especially because most companies match 3 to 7%-ish. But you don't have to start off with 10%, right? Like, start with something. Start at least with what your employer will match and work your way up. You know, as you grow with the company, as you get raises, it will be easier for you to work up to that 10 to 15% level. And I will say that the sooner you start contributing to a 401k, this is for those of you who aren't right now, the more you will have when it's time to retire. I mean, there is no denying the power of compounding growth with your investments. Okay, so work up towards 10 to 15%. Let that be your goal number. That will help you reach financial freedom, at least in retirement. Okay, number 5. Now it's time to build your true emergency fund, which should be at least 3 to 6 months worth of your living expenses. So this would be the ideal emergency fund amount. You already have your $1,000, great. Now let's try to increase that. You know, this is going to come in handy if you lose your job or have a medical crisis or anything else that could come up and really set you back financially. Having that emergency fund there will take the burden off of you and make life a little bit easier for you. One thing I will say too about your emergency fund is that it should be liquid. And when I say liquid, that means easy to pull into cash. So it should be in a savings account, it should be in a high yield account, maybe at a different bank. It should not be tied up in investments. It should not be in a CD where you may get a fee if you need to take it out. So make sure when you are working towards your emergency fund, the 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, that it's liquid, it's easy to get to. Okie dokie. Number 6 on what to do to reach financial freedom, set money goals. And I've talked about this plenty of times on previous Facebook Lives, but setting goals keeps you motivated, keeps you focused, allows you to have an end result to work towards, which is huge, especially when you aren't very good at controlling your money on things you don't necessarily need. At least if you know you're working towards something, you may be less likely to buy a new pair of shoes. So, you know, I want you to think about, what do you want out of life? When do you want to get it? And then get specific with your goals. You definitely want to follow the SMART criteria, which is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time specified. So make sure you have your values assigned to your goals, when you want to achieve them, and how you are going to achieve them. All right, moving right along. Number 7 in things to do to reach financial freedom, start investing to reach your goals. And I know investing can sound scary. In fact, I read something somewhere that 46% of millennials say it's too risky to invest. It's too risky not to invest. I mean, investing over time, long term, is what is going to yield the biggest results for you. So, you know, like I said with your 401k, the earlier you start, the more you will have when it's time to tap into that money. And if you don't know where to start or what to do, I recommend Betterment. They are extremely easy to use. You sign up, you set a goal, and it tells you based on when you want to achieve that goal and how much that goal costs, what investments would be best for you. And you can always change that later. So it's a great way to get started without being too intimidated by what the stock market can do or show. All right, we're moving right along here. Okay, number 8 in the things you can do to reach financial freedom, enjoy life, but in moderation. So this basically means that you should budget for the things you enjoy, because when you budget for fun and budget for the things you enjoy doing, you don't feel so bad that you are really paying down your debt or saving or whatever the case may be. You know that you truly can afford to go do the things you like, and it's not going to hurt you financially. Now, the trick for this is to make sure your budget shows that you can afford it and that you actually stick to the limits you set for any fun or discretionary spending. That's the catch. And another thing too with that, let's say fun for you means taking an exotic trip once a year. Well, don't wait until 2 or 3 months before the trip to start planning. Start planning a year in advance so you can save a small amount each month, pay for it, and really enjoy your time. Come back home and not feel strapped for cash because you spent it all on vacation. Okay, moving on. Number 9, increase your income. So I'm sure I've said this quote before, or you've read it somewhere. It's pretty popular, but the average millionaire has 7 forms of income. 7. So if your form of income is going to work every day and coming home and that's it, you have 6 more streams of income to acquire to become the average millionaire, essentially. So something to think about there. The good thing about increasing your income is the opportunities or the potential is infinite, right? Like there's no cap on how much money you can earn or make. It's pretty inspiring if you think about it that way. Yes, it will take time, dedication, work, discipline, sacrifice, all of that fun stuff. But once you do get to a point where you have multiple forms of income coming your way, you will be in a much better position to pay off your debt and save for emergencies and take trips and do everything you want to do. One thing I will say about this too is the best form of additional income to bring your way would be passive income. And if you don't know what that means, I've talked about it quite a bit lately, but passive income essentially means you aren't exchanging time for money. So if you go clock in at a job every day, work your 8 hours, come home, you are essentially exchanging your time and talents for money. Well, with passive income, you can essentially earn money while you're sleeping, meaning you don't have to continually invest your time to get a return. That's going to be the best way to bring in money. Not the easiest, I will say, but it can be done. So for example, if you have an extra room in your house or apartment, rent it out. All that requires is you sharing your space. Doesn't really require much time or effort on your part. That's a great way to bring in passive income. Another idea could be creating or selling a digital product or an online course or a book, or creating something tangible that can be sold long after it's created. Digital products, online courses, online books, things like that are relatively easy to create, a lot less overhead than a physical, tangible product. But once you are done creating the product, the course, the book, whatever it is, you can make sales off it for years to come. That's passive income. Okay, number 10, last but certainly not least on the things you can do to reach financial freedom is help others. So helping others doesn't necessarily have to come from money, right? It can be donating your time, your efforts, your energy, your resources. It could be starting a business and hiring someone who needs a job. The ability to help others is going to help the world, and that's going to make the world a better place for all of us. So you don't necessarily need to be financially free to help others, but it should definitely be on your list of things to do to help you get there. All right, everyone. Well, those are the 10 things we should all work towards to achieve financial freedom. Regardless of what financial freedom means to you, you can achieve it. One thing I want you to know is that success rarely happens overnight. Does take discipline, does take sacrifice, does take time. But starting now, starting somewhere, just getting started is going to make a difference and is what's going to lead to your results. So On that note, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. If you have any questions about anything I talked through, if you're watching this replay later, shoot me a comment, say hi, ask any questions you have, and I will see you guys next time. All right, bye everyone.